My wealthy uncle took me in when my parents left me behind at 13. 15 years later, they showed up at his will reading. Sat in the lawyer's office like they'd been there all along. Expensive suits, fake smiles, hands practically shaking with anticipation of millions they thought they'd inherit. Then the lawyer read one line. One single line that made every head in the room snap toward my parents. And to my brother David and his wife Catherine, who abandoned their son Daniel at my doorstep 15 years ago with nothing but a note saying they couldn't do this anymore. I leave the sum of $1 each, and the knowledge that the boy they threw away became the man I'm proud to call my son. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just watched their faces drain of color as the lawyer continued reading the part where Uncle James left me everything. $47 million. 3 properties. His entire business. Cooper Industries. The vacation home on San Juan Islands. The commercial real estate portfolio. Everything. I should have seen it coming. But when you spend 15 years trying to understand why your parents left you, you miss the obvious signs that they never deserved you in the first place. That morning started 3 days earlier. Monday, October 14th. I was in my apartment in downtown Seattle. The apartment Uncle James bought for me when I graduated college 4 years ago. 2-bedroom, corner unit, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. Paid in full. $375,000. He'd handed me the keys and said, "This is yours. No rent, no mortgage, just a place to build your life from." I cried that day. 24 years old, and he was still taking care of me. Still making sure I had what I needed. Still being the father my actual father had refused to be. My name is Daniel Cooper. I'm 28 years old. I work as a senior architect at Morrison & Associates, one of the top architectural firms in the Pacific Northwest. I design commercial buildings, office complexes, mixed-use developments, the kind of structures that define city skylines and house thousands of people's daily lives. I make $135,000 a year. Good money. Great money, actually. Enough to be comfortable. Enough to save. Enough to feel proud of what I'd built from the ground up. Uncle James had paid for my education, yes, but the career was mine. The skills were mine. The success was mine. But everything I'd built, everything I'd become, started with Uncle James. Everything I had, everything I was, came from the man who took me in when I was 13 years old and my parents decided they were done being parents. I remember that day like it was yesterday, November 3rd, 15 years ago. I was 13 years old. Just started 8th grade at Lincoln Middle School in Spokane. Normal kid. Normal life. Or so I thought. I'd always been a quiet kid. Bookish. Preferred reading to sports. Preferred drawing to playing outside. My parents had never quite known what to do with me. Dad wanted me to play football. Join the team. Be tough. Be athletic. Be the kind of son he could brag about at work. But I was small for my age. Uncoordinated. More interested in sketching buildings than throwing balls. It disappointed him. I could see it in his face every time I brought home another drawing instead of a sports trophy. Mom was a nurse. Worked long shifts at Sacred Heart Medical Center. Came home exhausted. Didn't have much energy for parenting. Would make dinner. Usually something quick, pasta or frozen pizza, and then disappear into her bedroom to watch TV until she fell asleep. Dad was a regional sales manager for a medical supply company. Traveled a lot. Gone 3 or 4 days a week. When he was home, he was distant. Checked out. Sat in his recliner watching sports and drinking beer. Didn't talk much. Didn't engage. Looking back, I can see they were unhappy. Unhappy with each other. Unhappy with their lives. Unhappy with the choices that had led them to a house in Spokane with a kid they didn't understand and a marriage that had stopped working years ago. But I was 13. I didn't understand adult unhappiness. I just knew that something felt wrong. That our house felt cold. That other kids talked about family dinners and game nights and vacations, and we had none of that. We had silence. We had separate rooms. We had a house full of people who barely acknowledged each other. That November day started normal. I woke up at 6:30, got ready for school, went downstairs. Mom was already gone, early shift. Dad was drinking coffee at the kitchen table, reading something on his phone. "Morning," I said. He grunted, didn't look up. I made myself cereal, ate in silence, grabbed my backpack, headed for the door. "Daniel," Dad said. I stopped, turned. He was looking at me, actually looking at me. First time in weeks. "Yeah, we need to talk when you get home today. Important." My stomach dropped. Important talks were never good. Important talks meant bad grades or broken rules or something I'd done wrong. Am I in trouble? No, just, we need to talk. Be home right after school. No stopping anywhere. Okay. I went to school. Couldn't concentrate. Spent all day wondering what I'd done. What was wrong? What was about to happen? Walked home at 3:15. Nervous. Anxious. That feeling you get when you know something bad is coming but you don't know what. I opened the front door. Saw suitcases. Boxes. Moving supplies. The living room was half-packed. Pictures off the walls. Books in boxes. Our house being systematically dismantled. Mom and Dad were in the kitchen, talking quietly. They stopped when they saw me. "What's going on?" I asked, voice small, already knowing, already understanding but not wanting to. Mom looked at Dad. Dad looked at me. "We're moving," he said. "Where?" "Arizona. Phoenix. I got a new job. Better opportunity. More money. We need a fresh start." "Okay. When do we leave? Do I need to pack?" That's when Mom spoke. "Daniel, you're not coming with us." The world stopped. "What?" "We're moving. You're staying here. In Spokane." "Why?" "Because we can't take you with us. We've made arrangements. Your Uncle James is coming to get you tonight. He'll take care of you. He lives in Seattle. Good schools there. Better than Spokane. You'll like it." I stood there, backpack still on, brain trying to process words that didn't make sense. "I don't understand. Why can't I come?" Dad sighed, that heavy, frustrated sigh that meant he didn't want to have this conversation. "Because we're starting over. Catherine and I, we're starting fresh. And we can't do that with you." "Did I do something wrong?" "No, you didn't do anything wrong. We can't be parents anymore. We're not good at it. We're not happy. And we need to live our own lives now." "What about my life?" "James will take care of you. He doesn't have kids. He's got money. He's successful. He'll give you opportunities we can't. This is better for everyone." "It's not better for me." Mom stepped forward. "Daniel, please don't make this harder than it is. We've made our decision. James agreed to take you. You'll be fine. I don't want to live with Uncle James. I want to live with you. I'm your son. And you'll always be our son," Mom said. But her voice was flat, rehearsed, like she'd practiced this speech and was just reciting lines. "Then why are you leaving me?" Neither of them answered. They just looked at each other. Then Dad spoke. "Pack your things. Just clothes and personal items. Everything else stays here. James will be here at 7. Be ready. Can I at least say goodbye to my friends? To my teachers? No, Mom said. Clean break. That's better. Trust us. Trust them. They were abandoning me and asking me to trust them. I went upstairs, sat on my bed, stared at my room, at the posters on my walls, at the books on my shelves, at the evidence of 13 years of life that was about to end. I heard them moving around downstairs, packing, loading, preparing to leave without me. At 6:30, I heard a car door, voices. Uncle James had arrived early. I went downstairs with my backpack, the same one I'd taken to school that morning. I packed one change of clothes, some underwear, my toothbrush, a book. That was it. Couldn't bring myself to pack more. Couldn't make it real by treating it like a permanent move. Uncle James was in the living room, 46 years old, tall, gray at his temples, expensive suit even though it was evening. He looked successful, looked like someone who had his life together, looked nothing like Dad, who was his younger brother but somehow looked older. He saw me. His face changed. Anger flickered across it, quickly suppressed. professional mask back in place. "Hey, Daniel," he said, voice gentle. "Hi, Uncle James." He turned to Dad. "David, can we talk?" Privately, they went into Dad's study. I heard raised voices. Uncle James's voice angry. "How could you do this to him? He's 13 years old. He's your son." Dad's voice, defensive. "You don't understand the situation. We tried. We can't do it anymore. Then get help. Go to therapy. Figure it out. You don't just abandon your kid. We're not abandoning him. We're giving him to someone who can actually take care of him. That's abandonment with extra steps." More arguing. More voices. Then silence. They came out. Dad looked angry. Uncle James looked disgusted. "Daniel," Uncle James said, "why don't you grab your things? Let's get going." "That's all I have," I said, pointing to my backpack. He stared at me, then at my parents. "That's all you're letting him take?" "He can pack more," Mom said. "We just thought." "You thought wrong. Daniel, go get everything you want. Everything that matters to you. We're not leaving anything behind." I went upstairs, started packing. Books, clothes, my sketch pad, my favorite blanket, my stuffed dog I'd had since I was 5 and was embarrassed to still have but couldn't leave behind. Uncle James came up, helped me pack, didn't judge, didn't make me feel childish for keeping things that mattered. We filled 3 large duffel bags, carried them downstairs, loaded them into his car. A black Mercedes that smelled like leather and success. My parents stood by the door, awkward, uncomfortable, wanting this to be over. Mom hugged me, quick hug, stiff. "Be good, Daniel. Listen to Uncle James. He's doing us all a favor." Dad patted my shoulder. "You'll be fine. This is for the best." Uncle James didn't say goodbye to them, just got in the car, started the engine, waited for me. I got in, looked back at the house, at my parents standing in the doorway. They waved, smiled, relieved smiles, happy this is finally over smiles. Then we drove away, 3 hours to Seattle. 3 hours in silence while I tried not to cry, while I tried to understand what had just happened, while I tried to figure out what I'd done to deserve this. Finally, Uncle James spoke. "You doing okay?" "No." "Yeah, me neither." "Did you know they were going to do this?" "No. David called me this afternoon, 3 hours ago. Said he and Catherine were moving to Arizona. Said they couldn't take you. Asked if I'd take you in. I said yes immediately. Then I drove straight here." "Why? Why did I say yes?" "Yeah. Because you're my nephew. Because you're 13 years old and you deserve better than parents who walk away. Because I wasn't going to let you go into the system when I could help. And because David is my brother, but he's also an idiot who doesn't deserve you. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm too much." He pulled over, stopped the car, turned to look at me. "Daniel, listen to me very carefully. You are not the problem. You did nothing wrong. Your parents are the problem. They're selfish. They're immature. They're incapable of putting someone else's needs before their own. That's on them, not on you. Never on you. Then why did they leave me? Because they're broken. And broken people do broken things. But their brokenness doesn't define your worth. You understand that?" I nodded. Didn't believe it, but nodded anyway. We drove the rest of the way in silence. Arrived at his house at 10 p.m. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, running on empty. His house was huge. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, indoor pool, home gym, home theater, the kind of house that showed up in magazines about successful people. "Pick any bedroom you want," he said, "except the master suite. That's mine. Everything else is fair game." I walked through the house, looked at all the options. Big rooms with king beds and sitting areas and private bathrooms. Guest rooms that were nicer than my parents' master bedroom had been. I picked the smallest one, back of the house, overlooked the garden. Single bed, small desk, felt safer, felt less overwhelming. "You sure?" Uncle James asked. "You can have one of the bigger ones." "This is fine." "Okay." Bathroom's right next door. There are towels in the closet. Take a shower if you want. I'll make up the bed while you're in there. I showered. Hot water. Good water pressure. Expensive soaps that smelled like cedar and mint. Stood under the spray and let myself finally cry. Quietly, so he wouldn't hear. When I came out, he'd made the bed. My stuffed dog was on the pillow. My books were on the nightstand. My clothes were hung in the closet. He'd unpacked for me, made the room feel less temporary. "Thank you," I said. "You're welcome. You hungry? I can make you something." "No, just tired." "Okay, my room's at the other end of the hall if you need anything. Anything at all. Don't hesitate. I'm a light sleeper. I'll hear you." "Okay." "Daniel." "Yeah. I'm glad you're here. I know it doesn't feel like it right now. I know this is terrible and scary and wrong. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I get to know you. I'm glad I get a chance to be part of your life. Okay?" I nodded. Couldn't speak. Throat too tight. He left. Closed the door quietly. I got into bed. Lay there staring at the ceiling. In a strange house. In a strange city. With a man I barely knew. Everything I'd known was gone. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay there. Listening to unfamiliar sounds. Trying to process. Trying to understand. The next morning, Uncle James made breakfast. Pancakes. Bacon. Fresh orange juice. Real food. Not cereal from a box or Pop-Tarts grabbed on the way out the door. "We need to talk about school," he said. "I can enroll you here. Good schools in this district. Or we can wait a few days if you need time to adjust. I want to go to school. I don't want to sit here thinking. Okay, I'll call the district office this morning. Get you enrolled. You'll probably start next week. That'll give us time to get you settled. Buy school supplies. Get you a new backpack." "I have a backpack." "I know, but yours is falling apart. Let me get you a new one, and new clothes, and whatever else you need. I don't want to be expensive." He put down his fork. Looked at me. "Daniel, I'm not doing you a favor. I'm not taking care of you out of obligation. You're not a burden. You're family, and family takes care of each other. I have money, more money than I need, and I'd rather spend it on you than on anything else. So please, let me take care of you. Let me give you what you need. Don't worry about the cost." Over the next few weeks, he did exactly that. Took care of me. He enrolled me in school. Emerson Middle School. Good school. Better than my old one. Smaller classes. Better teachers. More resources. He took me shopping. Bought me clothes that actually fit. Shoes that weren't falling apart. A new backpack that didn't have holes. School supplies. Art supplies because he noticed I liked to draw. He set me up with a therapist. Dr. Sarah Matthews. 50 years old. Kind eyes. Patient voice. She specialized in kids dealing with abandonment and trauma. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to," Uncle James said when he told me about the therapy. "But I think it might help. What your parents did, that's not normal. That's not okay. And processing that with a professional might be good." I went to therapy every Tuesday at 4 p.m. for 3 years. Dr. Matthews helped me understand that my parents' choice wasn't about me. That their failure to love me properly didn't mean I was unlovable. That I could build a life despite what they'd done. She helped me with the nightmares. The ones where I came home and the house was empty. Where everyone had left and I was alone. Where I kept getting abandoned over and over in different ways. She helped me with the anxiety. The constant worry that Uncle James would change his mind. That he'd decide I was too much. That he'd send me away too. "Has he given you any reason to think he'd do that?" she asked. "No." "Has he been consistent?" "Yes." "Has he shown up for you?" "Every day." "Then trust that. Trust his actions. Not your fear." Slowly, over months and years, I learned to trust. Learned to believe that maybe I could have a home. Maybe I could have someone who wouldn't leave. Uncle James made it easy. He was consistent, reliable, present. He came to every parent-teacher conference. Sat there taking notes while teachers talked about my progress. Asked questions. advocated for me when I needed extra help or different accommodations. He came to every school event, every orchestra concert where I played violin in the back row, every art show where my drawings were displayed, every science fair where my projects were mediocre but I tried my best. Other kids had 2 parents in the audience. I had Uncle James, and somehow that felt like enough. He helped me with homework every night, sat at the kitchen table with me, didn't do it for me, just sat there, available, answering questions, helping me figure things out. He taught me how to study, how to organize, how to manage my time, how to set goals and break them into smaller steps. Skills my parents had never taught me because they'd been too busy with their own lives. He taught me about money, how to budget, how to save, how to understand the value of things. Not because he wanted me to be cheap, but because he wanted me to be smart, to understand that money was a tool, not a goal. I have a lot of money, he told me once. I was 15. We were having dinner. Normal Tuesday. More than most people will ever have. But money doesn't make you happy. It just makes life easier. What makes you happy is purpose, is building something, is helping people, is knowing you matter. Remember that. I remembered. When I was 16, I asked him about my parents. First time I'd asked in 3 years. Have you heard from them? He paused, fork halfway to his mouth. No, not since the day they left you. Have you tried to contact them? A few times. In the beginning, I called David, left messages, sent emails, asked if he wanted updates on you, if he wanted to know how you were doing. What did he say? Nothing. He never responded. Do you think they regret it? Leaving me? He set down his fork, looked at me. I don't know. And honestly, it doesn't matter. It matters to me. Why? Because if they regret it, that means they loved me. And if they loved me, maybe I wasn't the problem. Daniel, you were never the problem. Whether they regret it or not doesn't change that. Their choice to leave had nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their inability to see it. But what if I was too much? What if I was too quiet or too weird or too? Stop. You're spiraling. And this is what Dr. Matthews calls catastrophizing. You're taking their failure and making it your identity. Don't do that. Then tell me something. Something that makes this make sense. He sighed, thought for a long moment. Okay, your dad was my little brother, 3 years younger than me. Growing up, he always struggled. With school, with friends, with expectations. Our dad, your grandfather, he was hard on both of us, but especially on David. Nothing David did was ever good enough. He internalized that, believed he was a failure, and he spent his whole life trying to prove he wasn't. How does that relate to me? David saw you as evidence of his failure. You were proof he couldn't do something right, couldn't be a successful parent. And instead of working on that, instead of trying harder, he ran away. He abandoned you because facing you meant facing his own inadequacy. That's messed up. Yes, it is. But it's also not about you. It's about him, about his issues, about his inability to be a functional adult. You were just collateral damage. That doesn't make it hurt less. No, it doesn't. But maybe it helps you understand that their choice was always about them, not about you. It helped. A little. Enough to keep building. Enough to keep moving forward. High school was better. I made friends. Joined the art club. Took AP classes. Got good grades. Not perfect grades, but good. Good enough to be proud of. Uncle James came to everything. Every art show. Every award ceremony. Every college fair. Every moment that mattered. When I got accepted to University of Washington's architecture program, he threw me a party. Small party. Just us and a few of my close friends. But he made a cake. Bought decorations. Made a speech about how proud he was. You're going to do amazing things, he said. I know it. You're talented. You're hardworking. You're resilient. And you've overcome more in 5 years than most people overcome in a lifetime. I'm so proud of you. I cried. Right there in front of my friends. Didn't care. Because someone was proud of me. Someone saw my achievements and celebrated them. Someone loved me enough to show it. College was transformative. I studied architecture, learned to design buildings, learned to see space differently, learned to create environments where people could live and work and thrive. Uncle James paid for everything: tuition, housing, food, books, everything. Never complained, never made me feel guilty, just told me to focus on school and not worry about money. "This is an investment," he said, "in you, in your future, and it's the best investment I'll ever make." I worked hard, got internships, built a portfolio, graduated with distinction, got hired at Morrison and Associates 2 weeks after graduation. Uncle James came to my graduation, brought flowers, took photos, stood there beaming like I'd won a Nobel Prize instead of just finishing college. "I'm so proud of you," he said. "Your parents have no idea what they missed. What an incredible person you've become. But their loss is my gain. I'm grateful every day that I got to be part of your life. You didn't just get to be part of it. You made it possible. Everything I am is because of you. No, everything you are is because of you. I just gave you opportunities. You did the work. You built this. Own that. I owned it. Built a career. Made a name for myself. Became known as a talented young architect with fresh ideas and solid technical skills." Uncle James watched it all, celebrated every promotion, every successful project, every milestone. He was there, always there, the father I should have had from the beginning. We had dinner together once a week, every Wednesday, sometimes at his house, sometimes at restaurants, sometimes at my apartment, just us, talking, about work, about life, about everything and nothing. He'd ask about my projects, about my friends, about my dating life, not prying, just interested, just wanting to know. I'd ask about his business, Cooper Industries, the manufacturing company he'd built from the ground up. He'd tell me about contracts and expansions and employees. Made me feel like an adult, like someone whose opinion mattered. "Have you ever thought about joining the company?" he asked once. I was 26. We were at his favorite Italian restaurant. "I'm an architect. I love what I do." "I know, and you're good at it. But you're also my heir. Eventually, Cooper Industries will be yours, whether you want it or not. I don't know anything about manufacturing. You could learn, and you don't have to run it yourself. I have good people. You could oversee, be the owner, make big decisions. Let others handle the day-to-day. Can I think about it?" Of course, no pressure. Just wanted you to know it's an option. 2 years later, he had his heart attack. Tuesday morning, October 8th. He was at the office, just finished a meeting, stood up to walk to his desk. Collapsed, massive coronary, dead before the ambulance arrived. 68 years old. Too young, too sudden, too unfair. I got the call at work. I was in a meeting. My phone rang. Hospital number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Is this Daniel Cooper?" "Yes. This is Swedish Hospital. You're listed as the emergency contact for James Cooper. I'm calling to inform you that Mr. Cooper was brought in by ambulance this morning. I'm very sorry he didn't survive. He passed away before arrival." The world stopped. I heard the words, understood them intellectually, but couldn't process them emotionally. "What?" "I'm so sorry. Mr. Cooper suffered a massive heart attack. There was nothing we could do. I need to come there. I need to see him." "Of course. Ask for the emergency department when you arrive. Someone will take you to him." I drove to the hospital in a daze, parked, walked through the automatic doors, found the emergency department, told them who I was. They took me to a private room. Small room, quiet, the kind they use for delivering bad news and saying final goodbyes. "Would you like to see him?" the nurse asked. Kind voice, practiced sympathy. "Yes." She led me to another room. He was there, lying on a bed, covered with a white sheet, looking peaceful, looking like he was sleeping. I sat next to him, took his hand. It was still warm, still familiar, but also different, empty. The life that had made him Uncle James was gone. I sat there for 2 hours, holding his hand, talking to him, saying everything I needed to say. Thank you for taking me in, for raising me, for loving me, for showing me what a real father looks like, for giving me opportunities one never would have had, for believing in me when my parents didn't, for being there, always being there. I love you. I love you. I love you. I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't visit more. Sorry I got busy with work. Sorry I took you for granted. Sorry I didn't tell you enough how much you meant to me. I'm going to miss you every day for the rest of my life. I'm going to miss you. Finally, I left. Had to. Couldn't stay forever. Had to start figuring out what came next. I drove home, sat in my apartment, the apartment he'd bought me, surrounded by furniture he'd helped me pick out, living a life he'd made possible, and tried to figure out how to exist in a world without Uncle James in it. The funeral was the following Friday. He'd made arrangements years ago, detailed instructions, where, when, who to contact, what kind of service, what music, everything planned because he was organized even in death. I handled everything, made calls, sent notifications, arranged the service, did it all in a fog, going through motions because that's what you do. The service was at Grace Episcopal Church, his church, where he'd gone every Sunday, where he'd taken me when I was younger, until I was old enough to decide for myself whether I wanted to go. 50 people came, his employees, his business partners, his friends from the yacht club, his golfing buddies, his neighbors, people whose lives he'd touched, people who respected him, people who'd miss him. I gave the eulogy, stood at the podium, looked out at the crowd, and talked about the man who'd saved my life. James Cooper was many things, I said. Successful businessman, generous donor, loyal friend. But to me, he was something else. He was my father, not by blood, not by law, but by choice, by action, by 15 years of showing up every single day. My voice cracked. I paused, collected myself, continued. When I was 13 years old, my parents abandoned me, left me on a porch with a note and drove away. And James, Uncle James, he picked me up, literally and figuratively. He drove 3 hours to get me, took me home, made me feel safe, and then he spent the next 15 years proving that their failure to love me wasn't about me. It was about them. People were crying. I saw tissues, saw people wiping eyes, kept going. He paid for everything. School, therapy, college, this apartment, everything. And he never held it over me, never made me feel like I owed him, just gave freely, because that's who he was. Someone who helped because he could, because it was right, because he loved me. I stopped, looked down at my notes, looked back up. He taught me that family isn't blood. It's choice. It's showing up. It's being there when it's hard. It's loving someone through their worst moments and celebrating them through their best. He did all of that, every single day. And I'm only standing here today, successful, stable, capable, because he believed in me when no one else did. I paused again, fighting to keep composure. I'm going to miss him every day for the rest of my life. I'm going to miss our Wednesday dinners. I'm going to miss his advice. I'm going to miss his laugh. I'm going to miss the way he made me feel seen, like I mattered, like I was worth showing up for. Final pause, final thought. James Cooper saved my life, not just by taking me in, but by loving me, by showing me I was worth loving, by proving that one person can change everything, can give someone a future they never thought they'd have, can build a legacy that lasts beyond money or success or achievements, a legacy of love, of presence, of showing up. I stepped away from the podium, sat down, let someone else take over. After the service, people came to me, offered condolences, told stories about James, about his generosity, his wisdom, his kindness. Everyone had a story. Everyone had been touched by him somehow. One man approached, older, 70s, expensive suit, Richard Chen. I recognized him from photos. James's attorney. Daniel, I'm so sorry for your loss. James talked about you constantly. He was so proud of you. Thank you. I need to schedule a will reading. James's will. Standard procedure. Are you available Thursday afternoon? 3 days from now. Yes, I can make it work. Good. 2 p.m. My office downtown. I'll email you the address. Will anyone else be there? Yes, a few people named in the will. I'll notify them as well. Who? I can't say yet, but they've been named as beneficiaries. They have a right to be present. Something in his voice. Something careful, like he was choosing words deliberately. Okay, Thursday at 2. I'll be there. He left. I stayed. Greeted more people. Accepted more condolences. Played the role of grieving son, which I was. Just not the kind most people assumed. Thursday came, October 17th. 3 days after the funeral. 10 days after James died. Time moved strangely. Felt like years and also like seconds. I took the afternoon off work. Told my boss I had estate matters to handle. He was sympathetic. Told me to take whatever time I needed. I wore a suit, dark blue, white shirt, black tie, the kind of outfit you wear to serious things, adult things, things that change your life. Drove downtown. Found Richard Chen's office. 19th floor of a steel and glass tower. Corner suite. Expensive everything. The kind of law firm that charged $800 an hour and earned it. The receptionist greeted me. Professional smile. Practiced sympathy. Mr. Cooper? Mr. Chun is expecting you. Conference room A. Down the hall, last door on the right. I walked down the hall. Plush carpet. Original art on the walls. The smell of old money and successful cases. Found conference room A. Large room. Long mahogany table. Leather chairs. Floor-to-ceiling windows with views of Elliott Bay and the Olympics beyond. I walked in. Sat down. Waited. 5 minutes later, the door opened. My parents walked in. I hadn't seen them in 15 years. 15 years of silence. 15 years of absence. 15 years of wondering if they ever thought about me. And here they were, walking into the will reading like they had every right to be there. Dad looked older, 52 now, gray hair, heavier than I remembered, lines around his eyes and mouth that hadn't been there before. He was wearing a suit, cheap suit, the kind you buy off the rack at Men's Warehouse. Didn't fit quite right. Mom looked different too, 50 years old, skinnier than I remembered, tight face, too much Botox, that stretched look people get when they try too hard to look young. She was wearing a dress, black dress, pearl necklace, trying to look elegant, looking desperate instead. They saw me, stopped walking, stared. Daniel, Dad said, voice uncertain, like he wasn't sure it was actually me. I didn't respond, just stared back, taking them in. These strangers who used to be my parents. Oh my God, Mom said. Look at you. You're all grown up. You're so handsome. You look just like your father. Still didn't respond. Couldn't. Had no idea what to say to people who'd abandoned me 15 years ago and were now acting like we'd just seen each other last week. They moved toward the table. Sat down. Not next to me. Across from me. Like they were afraid to get too close. Or maybe I looked like I'd bite if they tried. Mom tried to smile. That practiced smile people use when they're nervous. How have you been? It's been so long. Fine. You look good. Really good. James must have taken good care of you. He did. That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. We're so glad he was there for you. We knew he would be. That's why we thought it was best. Best. The word hung in the air. Best for who? Not for me. Best for them. Why are you here? I asked. For the will reading, Dad said. James's lawyer called. Said we were named in the will. Said we needed to be here for the reading. You haven't spoken to him in 15 years. Why would he name you in his will? He was my brother, Dad said, getting defensive. That tone I remembered from childhood. The one he used when he felt attacked. Of course he'd name me in the will. We're family. Are you? I said. Because family usually doesn't abandon each other and then disappear for 15 years. Mom flinched. Dad looked away. We didn't abandon you, Mom said, voice tight, rehearsed, like she'd practiced this response. We made arrangements. We made sure you were taken care of. We gave you to someone who could provide for you better than we could. You left me on a porch with a note. That's textbook abandonment. We did what we thought was best at the time. We were struggling. We weren't good parents. We knew James could give you a better life. And he did. Look at you. You turned out great. No thanks to you. Daniel, please, Dad said. We don't want to fight. We're here for the same reason you are. Let's just get through this. Okay? Before I could respond, the door opened. Richard Chin walked in, briefcase in hand, face neutral, professional. He saw my parents. His jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly, but I caught it. David, Catherine, thank you for coming. Richard, Dad said, standing up, extending his hand. Good to see you. It's been a long time. Yes, Richard said, not shaking his hand, just nodding. 15 years. The number hung in the air. 15 years. Since they'd abandoned me. Since they'd cut contact. Since they'd pretended I didn't exist. Richard sat at the head of the table, opened his briefcase, pulled out a thick file, set it on the table. Let's begin, he said. We're here for the reading of James Edward Cooper's last will and testament. Before we start, I need to confirm everyone's identity for the record. He looked at me. Daniel Cooper? Yes. He looked at my parents. David Cooper and Catherine Cooper? Yes, they said together. Eager. Too eager. Good. Now, some preliminary information. James updated this will 2 years ago, September 15th. He was of sound mind, which was confirmed by 3 separate physicians. Everything in this document represents his final wishes. Any questions about the validity of the will can be addressed at the end. But I'll tell you now, this will is ironclad. It's been reviewed by multiple attorneys. Everything is legal and binding. He opened the file, pulled out the will itself. Multiple pages. Official looking. Notarized. Witnessed. I'm going to read the relevant portions, Richard said. There are many technical clauses about taxes and executor duties, but I'll skip those unless anyone wants to hear them. No one objected. My parents were leaning forward, practically vibrating, hands clasped on the table, eyes fixed on the document. They were here for money. That was obvious. 15 years of absence, and they showed up for the will reading. For money they thought they'd inherit. From a man they'd ignored. From an estate built while they pretended their own son didn't exist. Richard cleared his throat, began reading. I, James Edward Cooper, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament, hereby revoking all previous wills and codicils. Standard opening. Legal language. Richard read through it quickly. First, I appoint Daniel Cooper as the primary executor of this will, with Richard Chun as co-executor should Daniel be unable or unwilling to serve. My parents shifted. Uncomfortable. Didn't like that I was named executor. Probably figured it should have been Dad, the actual blood relative. Second, I make the following specific bequests. Here it comes, I thought. Here's where we find out who gets what. Richard continued reading. To my housekeeper and friend Margaret Williams, who has worked for me faithfully for 20 years, I leave the sum of $50,000 and my eternal gratitude for her dedicated service. Margaret wasn't there. Richard would notify her separately. To Seattle Children's Hospital, I leave the sum of $5 million to be used specifically for pediatric cancer research and treatment. I wasn't surprised. James donated to that hospital every year, had for decades, since before I came to live with him. To the University of Washington Architecture Department, I leave the sum of $2 million to fund scholarships for students who have overcome significant adversity in their lives. My throat tightened. That was for kids like me. Kids who'd been dealt terrible hands but were trying to build something anyway. Kids who needed someone to believe in them the way James had believed in me. To the Seattle YMCA, I leave the sum of $1 million to fund programs for at-risk youth. More charity, more helping. That was James, always thinking about others. Richard paused, looked up from the document, looked at my parents, then at me, then back at the document. And now, he said slowly, deliberately, the primary bequest. My parents sat up even straighter, practically on the edge of their seats. Mom's hands were trembling. Dad was barely breathing. This was it. This was what they'd come for. The money, the fortune they thought they'd inherit. Richard looked directly at them, then read, word by word. To my brother David Cooper and his wife Catherine Cooper, who abandoned their son Daniel at my doorstep 15 years ago, with nothing but a note saying they couldn't do this anymore, I leave the sum of $1 each. Silence. Complete. Total. Silence. My parents' faces drained of color. All at once, like someone had pulled a plug and let all the blood drain out. Mom's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out, just this gasping fish mouth, trying to speak, failing. Dad stared at Richard. What? I'm reading exactly what James wrote. $1? He's leaving us $1 each. That's correct. That's impossible. We're his family. We're his blood relatives. He can't just. He absolutely can. And he did. Richard continued reading, voice steady, professional. I leave them $1 each and the knowledge that the boy they threw away became the man I'm proud to call my son. The words hit like physical blows. I watched my parents flinch, watched them process, watched 15 years of abandonment come back to haunt them in one devastating sentence. Furthermore, Richard read, I want David and Catherine to understand that this is not about punishment. This is about consequences. They made a choice 15 years ago. They chose to prioritize their own needs over their son's welfare. They chose to walk away from a 13-year-old child who needed them. They chose to let someone else do the hard work of parenting. And that choice had consequences. Mom made a sound, a whimper, like she'd been hit. Richard kept reading. The consequence is that Daniel became my son, not just in my heart, but in every way that mattered. I raised him. I supported him. I loved him. I showed up for him every day for 15 years. And he became an incredible man, kind, talented, resilient, a credit to himself, not to the people who abandoned him. Dad's face was red, angry red, humiliated red. This is bullshit. We're going to contest this. We're going to. Please let me finish, Richard said, voice sharp. Then you can speak. He returned to the document. The consequence is that David and Catherine don't get to benefit from the man Daniel became. They threw him away. I picked him up. And now he gets everything. Not because I want to punish them, but because he earned it. Every single day for 15 years, he earned it. And they didn't. They forfeited their right to benefit from him the day they left him on that porch. Richard paused. Let that sink in. Continued. To my nephew by blood, but my son in every way that matters, Daniel Cooper, I leave the remainder of my estate. My heart stopped. This includes all financial assets, currently valued at approximately $47 million. The room spun. $47 million. My primary residence at 847 Lakeview Drive, Seattle, Washington, valued at approximately $4.2 million. His house, the house I'd lived in, the house that had been my home for 15 years. My vacation property on San Juan Island, Washington, valued at approximately $1.8 million. The beach house, where we'd spent summers, where he'd taught me to sail. My commercial property portfolio, including 4 office buildings and 2 mixed-use developments, valued at approximately $12 million. Real estate, investments, things he'd built over decades. All shares and ownership interest in Cooper Industries, including full control of the board of directors and all operational decisions. The company, his company, everything he'd built. All personal effects, including artwork, vehicles, jewelry, and other items of personal significance. Everything, everything, everything. Richard set down the page, pulled out another one. This one handwritten, James's handwriting. I recognized it immediately. James wrote a personal message to Daniel, Richard said. He asked that I read it aloud at the will reading. Daniel, if you'd prefer I not read this publicly, I can give it to you privately. Read it, I said, voice barely above a whisper. Please. Richard cleared his throat, began reading James's words, in James's voice almost like he could hear him. Daniel, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. And I'm sorry I'm not there to say this in person, but I wanted to make sure you knew some things. My eyes started burning, fought to keep composure. Raising you was not a burden. It was not an obligation. It was not something I did out of duty to my brother. Raising you was the greatest privilege of my life. You gave me purpose. You gave me joy. You gave me a reason to be better than I was. You made me want to be the kind of man who deserved to call you my son. Tear escaped, rolled down my cheek, didn't wipe it away. I know you've struggled with what your parents did. I know you've spent years wondering if you were the problem, if you were too much or not enough or somehow fundamentally flawed. I need you to hear this. You were never the problem. You were perfect. You are perfect, exactly as you are. And their failure to see that was always about them, never about you. More tears. Couldn't stop them. I'm leaving you everything because you earned it. Not through grand gestures or major accomplishments, though you've had plenty of those, but through small moments, through showing up, through working hard, through being kind even when people weren't kind to you, through building a life despite everything that tried to stop you. Richard's voice was thick now, like he was fighting his own emotions. I'm leaving you everything because I trust you. I trust you to use it wisely, to help others the way I tried to help you, to build something meaningful, to create a legacy that matters. And I trust you to be okay without me, because I raised you to stand on your own, to be strong, to be capable, to be the kind of man who doesn't need anyone to validate his worth. I was crying openly now, didn't care. Finally, I want you to know I love you. I loved you from the moment I picked you up off that porch. I loved you through the nightmares and the therapy and the questions about why your parents left. I loved you through middle school and high school and college. I loved you through every moment, easy and hard. And I'll love you even now, wherever I am. Because love doesn't stop just because life does. Richard paused. Final paragraph. David and Catherine, if you're there, and I assume you are because you couldn't resist the pull of potential money, I want you to understand something. I didn't leave you $1 to be cruel. I left you $1 so you'd know I didn't forget you. I remembered you perfectly. I remembered what you did. I remembered how you treated your son. And I chose, deliberately and clearly, to give you nothing. Because you deserve nothing. You had 15 years to reach out, to apologize, to try to rebuild a relationship with the child you abandoned. You did nothing, and now you get nothing. That's justice, not cruelty. Richard set down the paper. The room was silent except for my breathing and Mom's quiet crying. That concludes the reading of the primary bequests, Richard said. There are additional smaller charitable donations and gifts to employees, but they don't concern anyone in this room beyond Daniel. Dad exploded, stood up, slammed his hands on the table. This is fucking bullshit. He can't do this. We're his family. We're his blood. We have rights. You have no rights, Richard said calmly, too calmly, like he'd been waiting for this. James left you what he wanted to leave you, $1 each. That was his legal right. The will is valid. It's witnessed. It's notarized. It's ironclad. We'll contest it. We'll fight this. We'll prove he wasn't in his right mind. On what grounds? He was evaluated by 3 separate physicians when he updated this will. All confirmed he was of sound mind and body. All signed sworn affidavits. I have copies if you'd like to see them. He was influenced. Daniel influenced him, manipulated him into writing us out of the will. Richard laughed. Actually laughed. Cold laugh. No humor. Daniel was 26 years old when James updated this will. He was living in his own apartment, working at his own job, building his own life. He had no idea James was changing his will. Didn't even know the terms until I read them today. So that argument won't work. Then James was coerced. Someone coerced him. By whom? He worked with me, his attorney of 40 years. He worked with his financial advisor, his physicians, all independent, all professional, all confirming this is what he wanted. You have no case. We need that money, Mom said, voice breaking, tears streaming. We have debts. We have expenses. We're struggling. We can't live on $1. That's not Daniel's problem, Richard said. He's our son. He owes us something. He owes you nothing. Less than nothing. We raised him for 13 years. 13 years of food and shelter and clothing and then you walked away, Richard interrupted. You don't get credit for 13 years of basic parenting followed by 15 years of abandonment. That's not how it works. Mom turned to me, desperation in her eyes. Real tears now, not fake sympathy tears. Real desperate tears. Daniel, please. You understand, don't you? We made a mistake. We were young. We were struggling. We didn't know what else to do. But we're your parents. We're your family. You have to help us. I looked at her, really looked at her. At this woman who'd given birth to me but had never really mothered me. At this person who'd walked away when things got hard and now wanted back in when there was money involved. No, I said. No, you're not my family. James was my family. He's the one who raised me. He's the one who loved me. He's the one who showed up. Every single day for 15 years. You're just people who used to live with me before you decided I was too inconvenient. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? What was fair about leaving a 13-year-old on a porch? What was fair about never calling, never writing, never checking to see if I was okay? What was fair about showing up to the will reading expecting money from a man you ignored for 15 years? We didn't know he was going to leave you everything. We just thought. You thought you'd get something. That's why you're here. Not because you loved James. Not because you wanted to pay respects. But because you heard will reading and saw dollar signs. Dad stepped forward. Daniel, be reasonable. We're your parents. Blood is blood. Family is family. You stopped being my family the day you left me. And you don't get to be family again now that there's an inheritance. We can make this right, Dad said. We can rebuild our relationship. Start over. It's not too late. It's been too late for 15 years. You had 15 years to reach out, to apologize, to show any interest in whether I was alive or dead. And you did nothing. You chose to walk away. You chose to start over without me. That was your choice. And choices have consequences. What about forgiveness? Mom asked. What about giving us a second chance? You want forgiveness? Earn it. Show up. Be consistent. Prove through actions, not words, that you're different people now. But don't expect it to happen because you asked. And don't expect it to happen quickly. You damaged me. You traumatized me. You made me spend years in therapy trying to understand why I wasn't good enough for my own parents. That kind of damage doesn't heal just because you're sorry now. We are sorry, Mom said. We're so sorry. We regret it. We regret leaving you. We wish we'd done things differently. Good. You should regret it. You should carry that for the rest of your lives. Because actions have consequences. And your action was abandonment. The consequence is that you lost me. And you lost any claim to James's estate. $1 each. That's what you get. That's what you're worth. The words were harsh, cruel even, but true, and necessary. Dad's face went from red to purple. We're going to fight this. We're going to contest this will. We're going to get what we deserve. You already got what you deserve, I said. $1 each. Exactly what James thought you were worth. They stormed out, slammed the door behind them, left me alone with Richard. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then Richard spoke. That was brutal. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Was it true? Everything James wrote? Everything he said about me? Every word. He meant all of it. He was so proud of you, Daniel. Talked about you constantly. In every meeting, every conversation, he'd find a way to mention you, what you were working on, what you'd accomplished, how proud he was of who you'd become. When did he write this? When did he decide to leave me everything? 2 years ago, right after your college graduation. He called me, scheduled an appointment, came in and said he needed to update his will, said he wanted to make sure you were taken care of, said he wanted to make sure David and Catherine knew exactly what he thought of them. Did he hate them? No. He pitied them. He couldn't understand how anyone could walk away from you, how anyone could be so blind to what they had. He'd talk about it sometimes, about how they were missing out on knowing an incredible person, about how their loss was his gain. I miss him. I know. And I know this is overwhelming. $47 million. Properties. A business. It's a lot to process. I don't want the money. I want him back. I know. But you can't have him back. What you can have is the legacy he left. The ability to continue his work. To help people the way he helped you. To build something meaningful with the resources he gave you. What happens now? Now we execute the will. I'll file it with the court. Transfer assets to your name. Handle taxes. Settle accounts. It'll take a few months. But when it's done, everything will be legally yours. What about my parents? Will they actually contest? They can try. They'll lose. But they can try. And they probably will, because people do stupid things when money's involved. How much will it cost them? To contest? Probably $50,000 to $100,000 in legal fees. Maybe more if they drag it out. They don't have that kind of money. That's why they're here. Then they'll go into debt. They'll max out credit cards. They'll borrow from anyone who'll lend to them. And they'll lose anyway, because this will is ironclad. James made sure of that. Why did he make sure? Because he knew they'd contest. He predicted this. He told me, Richard, David is going to fight this. He's going to claim I was incompetent or influenced or coerced. So make this bulletproof. Make it impossible to challenge. So I did. I got medical evaluations. I got witness statements. I documented everything. They have no case. Good. Richard stood. I'll be in touch. In the meantime, don't engage with them. Don't respond to calls or texts or emails. Let me handle everything. Okay? Okay. And Daniel? James was right. You earned this. All of it. Don't let them make you feel guilty. Don't let them make you doubt yourself. You earned every dollar, every property, every bit of this estate, because you showed up, because you loved him, because you were his son in every way that mattered. Over the next few days, I processed everything. Went to work, came home, sat in my apartment, tried to understand that my life had fundamentally changed. $47 million. I couldn't even conceptualize that much money. Couldn't imagine what to do with it. Couldn't wrap my head around suddenly being wealthy beyond anything I'd ever dreamed. But it wasn't really about the money. It was about what the money represented. James's love, his belief in me, his commitment to making sure I was taken care of even after he was gone. My parents tried to contact me. Started the day after the will reading. Text from Dad. Daniel, we need to talk. This is family business. We should handle it as family. Text from Mom. Please call us. We love you. We want to work this out. More texts. You're being unreasonable. We're your parents. You owe us respect. Even more. The money should stay in the family. Blood relatives. That's how it should work. I blocked their numbers. Didn't respond. Didn't engage. They emailed. Long emails. Explaining. Justifying. Pleading. Daniel, we know we made mistakes. We know we hurt you. But we're trying to make amends. The first step is forgiveness. And then we can move forward together. As a family. I deleted the emails. Unread. They showed up at my apartment. Thursday night. 1 week after the will reading. Building security called. Mr. Cooper. There are two people here claiming to be your parents. They're asking to come up. Should I send them up? No. Please ask them to leave. They're insisting they need to speak with you. Tell them I'm not available. And if they don't leave, call the police. They left, but they came back the next day. And the day after, building security started recognizing them, started turning them away automatically. 2 weeks after the will reading, Richard called. Daniel, I need to tell you something. Okay. Your parents hired a lawyer. They're contesting the will. I figured they would. They're claiming James was coerced, that you manipulated him, that you used your position as his caregiver to influence him into writing them out. I wasn't his caregiver. I was his nephew. I had my own apartment, my own job, my own life. I know, and I've already filed our response. We have mountains of evidence that James was of sound mind, that he made this decision independently, that no one influenced him. But I wanted you to know, this is going to drag out. This is going to get ugly. They're going to make accusations. They're going to try to paint you as manipulative and greedy. Let them. Anyone who knows me knows that's not true. Good. Maintain that attitude. Don't engage. Don't defend yourself publicly. Let the legal process work. The legal battle dragged on for 3 months. My parents' lawyer filed motion after motion, requested depositions, demanded financial records, tried every angle to prove James had been incompetent or influenced. They failed on every front. The medical records were clear. 3 doctors, all independent, all confirming James was mentally sharp. No signs of dementia or cognitive decline. No evidence of manipulation or undue influence. The witness statements were consistent. Everyone who knew James, his employees, his friends, his business associates, all confirmed the same thing. He was sharp. He was independent. He made his own decisions. And he loved Daniel like a son. The documentary evidence was overwhelming. James had maintained detailed journals, had written notes about his decision to update the will, had explained his reasoning clearly, had left a paper trail that proved this was exactly what he wanted. My parents' lawyer finally called Richard, asked if we'd be willing to settle. Settle for what? Richard asked. I was in his office when he took the call. Had it on speaker so I could hear. $10 million. They'll drop the lawsuit if Daniel agrees to give them $10 million. Richard looked at me. I shook my head. No, Richard said. It's a reasonable offer. It would avoid years of litigation. It would give everyone something. It would preserve family relationships. There are no family relationships to preserve, Richard said. And we don't need to avoid litigation. We're going to win. And David and Catherine are going to walk away with nothing except legal bills they can't afford. They're his parents. He should want to help them. They're people who abandoned him, who ignored him for 15 years, who only came back when there was money involved. Why would he help them? Because family is family. Family is people who show up. David and Catherine never did. So no settlement, no compromise. They get nothing. The lawsuit was dismissed 6 weeks later. Judge ruled in our favor on summary judgment. Said the will was valid. Said my parents had no grounds to contest. Said the medical evidence was overwhelming. Said their claims of undue influence were baseless. They appealed to state appellate court, filed brief after brief, argued their case, lost again, appealed to the state Supreme Court, filed for review, got denied. Finally, after 5 months of legal battles, it was over. The will was final. Everything was mine. My parents had spent $93,000 on legal fees. Money they didn't have. Money they'd borrowed. Money they'd put on credit cards. Money they'd never be able to pay back. Richard called when it was finally official. It's done. The appeals are exhausted. The will is final. Everything James left you is legally yours. Good. Your parents called me yesterday. They're in financial trouble. The legal fees destroyed them. They asked if you'd be willing to help. Even just a little. Just enough to get them back on their feet. No. That's what I told them. But they asked me to pass along a message. They said they're sorry. They said they understand now. They said they made terrible mistakes and they hope someday you can forgive them. Tell them I'll think about it. But don't tell them I'll help. Because I won't. Understood. 6 months after James died, everything was finalized. The estate was settled. Assets were transferred. I officially owned everything he'd left me. $47 million in liquid assets. Invested in diverse portfolios. Stocks, bonds, real estate investment trusts, all generating passive income of approximately $2.3 million per year. His house, the house I'd lived in for 15 years, now legally mine, for $0.2 million. Fully paid, no mortgage. The beach house on San Juan Island, where we'd spent summers, where he'd taught me to sail and fish and appreciate nature. $1.8 million. Mine. Commercial properties. For office buildings in Seattle. 2 mixed-use developments in Bellevue, generating rental income of approximately $800,000 annually. $12 million in total value. Cooper Industries, his company, manufacturing components for aerospace and medical equipment. Annual revenue of $78 million. Annual profit of $12 million. I was now the owner, the chairman of the board, the person who made final decisions. I kept working, didn't quit my job, didn't need to financially, but I loved architecture, loved designing buildings, loved creating spaces where people could live and work and thrive. But I also started thinking about legacy, about what to do with this money, about how to honor James's memory. He'd always been generous, always given to charity, always helped people who needed it. I wanted to continue that, expand it, build something that would last. I met with financial advisors, with lawyers, with nonprofit consultants, and together we created something, the James Cooper Foundation for Abandoned Children. Mission: to provide support, resources, and opportunities for children who'd been abandoned by their parents. Children in foster care, children raised by relatives, children who knew what it felt like to be unwanted. Programs, therapy services, scholarship funds, mentorship programs, housing assistance, whatever these kids needed to build stable lives. Funding: I endowed it with $10 million initially, set it up to donate $1 million annually from investment returns, made sure it would last forever, made sure James's legacy would continue. We launched 6 months after his death, had a ceremony, invited press, invited community leaders, invited the very people we aimed to serve. I gave a speech, talked about James, about what he'd done for me, about how one person can change everything, about how I wanted to pay that forward. James Cooper saved my life, I said, not just by taking me in when my parents abandoned me, but by loving me, by showing me I was worth loving, by proving that family isn't who you're born to, but who shows up. And this foundation is how I'm going to continue his work, how I'm going to help other kids who feel unwanted, who feel like they don't belong, who need someone to believe in them the way James believed in me. People applauded. Some cried. The kids in attendance looked at me with something like hope, like maybe they could build lives too, like maybe they weren't ruined just because their parents had failed them. I gave the first scholarship that day, $100,000, to a 17-year-old girl named Emma. Parents had abandoned her at 14. She'd been raised by her grandmother, was about to graduate high school, wanted to be a doctor, couldn't afford college. Now she could. Full ride, room and board, books, everything, all paid for by James's legacy. She cried when I told her, hugged me, said, "Thank you, thank you. I can't believe this is real." "It's real," I said. "You earned it, and you're going to do amazing things. I know it." She's in medical school now, 3rd year, top of her class, sends me updates every few months. Proof that investing in people pays dividends you can't measure in dollars. I bought the house I'd grown up in, the one in Spokane, the one my parents had abandoned me outside of. Paid $650,000. cash. Then I donated it to a local nonprofit, turned it into a group home for at-risk youth, a place where kids who had nowhere else to go could find safety, could find stability, could find people who'd show up. Put a plaque on the front, bronze, mounted by the door, James Cooper House, in honor of a man who never walked away. My parents found out, called me, first time I'd heard from them since the lawsuit ended. Daniel, we heard about the house, about what you did with it. That's beautiful, really beautiful. James would be proud. I know, we're proud too, for what it's worth. It's worth something, not everything, but something. We've been thinking about everything, about the mistakes we made, and we want to apologize, really apologize, not because we want money, not because we want anything, just because it's right. Okay, we're sorry. We're so sorry. We should never have left you. We should never have walked away. We were young and stupid and selfish and scared, and we made the worst decision of our lives. Okay, do you forgive us? I thought about that, thought about forgiveness, about whether it was something they'd earned, about whether it even mattered. No, I said finally, I don't forgive you, not yet, maybe not ever. Forgiveness isn't something you get just because you apologize. It's something you earn over time, through actions, through consistency, through showing up. And you've never shown up for me, so no, I don't forgive you. What can we do? How can we make this right? I don't know if you can. Some damage is permanent. Some choices have consequences that last forever. You walked away. You chose not to be my parents. And that choice changed my life, changed who I am, changed everything. And you don't get to undo that now just because you're sorry. So that's it? We're just never going to have a relationship. We're never going to have the relationship you want. The one where we pretend the last 15 years didn't happen. Where we act like a normal family. Where I share my life with you and invite you to holidays and pretend everything is fine. That relationship doesn't exist. What we have is two people who share DNA and a painful history. That's it. But we're your parents. You gave birth to me. You raised me for 13 years. But you're not my parents. James was my parent. He's the one who showed up. He's the one who stayed. He's the one who loved me. You're just people I used to know. Silence on the other end. Long silence. Then Mom spoke. We miss you. You miss the idea of me. You miss the person you think I should be. The person who forgives easily and welcomes you back and shares his inheritance. But I'm not that person. I'm the person James raised. The person who values actions over words. The person who doesn't accept apologies without changed behavior. And your behavior hasn't changed. You're still the people who walked away when things got hard. You're just upset that walking away had consequences. We're not those people anymore. Prove it. How? That's your job to figure out, not mine. If you want a relationship with me, you're going to have to earn it. The way James earned it. By showing up. By being consistent. By proving through years of actions that you're different people now. And maybe after years of that we can talk about forgiveness. But not now. Not yet. Maybe not ever. They accepted that. Or said they did. Started calling once a month. Just to check in. Just to say hello. Never asked for money. Never asked for favors. Just called. Just tried to show up in the small ways they could. It wasn't enough. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was something. A start. A first step on a very long road. I built a life with the resources James left me. Not a life of luxury. Not a life of excess. Just a life with freedom. Freedom to work because I wanted to, not because I needed to. Freedom to give because I could. Freedom to build something meaningful. I expanded the foundation, created programs, helped hundreds of kids, thousands eventually, kids who needed someone to believe in them, kids who needed proof that their parents' failure to love them wasn't the end of their story. I stayed at my job, kept designing buildings, kept creating, but I also joined the board of Cooper Industries, learned the business, started making decisions, honored James's legacy by keeping his company strong. I met someone, Sarah, 29, social worker. Met her through the foundation. She worked with at-risk youth. Understood my history. Didn't judge. Didn't pity. Just accepted that my story was complicated and loved me anyway. We dated for 2 years. Slow. Careful. Building trust. Building something real. I proposed on the beach at the San Juan Island house. The place James and I had spent summers. Where he'd taught me to sail. Where I'd learned that family isn't who you're born to, but who chooses you. She said yes. We got married a year later. Small ceremony. His house. The house that was now mine. 50 people. Friends. Colleagues. Sarah's family. People who mattered. I didn't invite my parents. Sarah asked if I wanted to. I said no. She didn't push. Understood. Accepted. Loved me enough to let me make that choice. At the reception, I gave a speech. About James. About what he'd meant. About how everything good in my life came from him. James Cooper is the reason I'm standing here today, I said. He's the reason I have this house, this life, this incredible woman who agreed to marry me. He's the reason I believe in love, in family, in showing up, because he showed up every day for 15 years. And he taught me that family isn't blood. It's choice. It's action. It's love expressed through consistency. I paused, looked around, at Sarah, at our friends, at the life we were building. James isn't here physically, but he's everywhere. In this house, in the foundation that bears his name, in the lives we've touched. In me, he taught me what it means to be loved, what it means to matter, what it means to have someone who refuses to walk away. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life living up to that example. Being for others what he was for me. Showing up. Staying. Loving people even when it's hard. Everyone applauded. Some people cried. Sarah was crying. Happy tears. Proud tears. And I thought about James. About the man who'd saved me. About the father who chose me. About the legacy he'd left that went so far beyond money. 3 years after James died, I received a letter from my parents. Handwritten. Long, careful. They understood, they wrote. They knew they'd never have the relationship with me they'd thrown away. They knew some damage was permanent. Some consequences lasted forever. We don't deserve forgiveness, the letter said. We know that, but we wanted you to know that we regret every day of the last 18 years. We regret leaving you. We regret never reaching out. We regret missing your life. We regret not being the parents you deserved. They continued. We see what you've built, the foundation, the lives you've changed, the legacy you're creating. And we know it has nothing to do with us and everything to do with James. He was the father you deserved. He gave you what we couldn't. And we're grateful he was there. Grateful he loved you. Grateful you became the man you are in spite of us, not because of us. Final paragraph. We know we'll never be part of your life the way we should have been. We know we lost that right, but we want you to know we're proud. From a distance, from the outside, proud of who you are, proud of what you've done, proud that you survived our failure and thrived anyway. That's all. We don't expect forgiveness. Don't expect a relationship. Just wanted you to know. I read that letter 10 times, looking for manipulation, looking for requests, looking for hidden agendas. Found none. Just regret. Just honest, painful regret. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. They'd said what they needed to say. I'd heard it. That was enough. 5 years after James died, I established the James Cooper Award. Annual award. $100,000. Given to a young person who'd overcome abandonment and was building something meaningful. We gave it out at a ceremony. Black tie event. Invited donors. Invited recipients of foundation programs. Invited people whose lives had been touched by James's legacy, even though they'd never met him. My parents came. I didn't invite them, but they came. Sat in the back. Didn't approach me. Just watched. Just saw what I'd built with the inheritance they'd tried to take. After the ceremony, Mom approached. Carefully. Nervously. Like she was afraid I'd tell her to leave. Daniel, that was beautiful. The speech, the award, everything. James would be so proud. I know. We're proud too. For what it's worth. It's worth something. More than it used to. Still not everything. But something. She nodded. Accepted that. That's more than we deserve. Yeah, it is. She turned to leave. Then stopped. Turned back. I know we'll never have a real relationship. I know we destroyed that. But I want you to know I think about you every day. I wonder how you're doing. I read about the foundation. I see the press coverage. And I'm grateful. Grateful you survived us. Grateful you became who you are. Grateful James was there when we weren't. Thank you for saying that. It's true. And I needed to say it. Even if it doesn't change anything. It changes something. Not everything. But something. She left. I watched her go. Watched my parents leave the building. Knowing I'd probably see them again. At another event. Another moment. But never in my life. Not really. Not the way they wanted. And that was okay. Because I'd built a life that didn't need them in it. A life that was full. Complete. Meaningful. Today, I'm 33 years old. 5 years without James. 5 years of learning to live without the person who'd made me feel seen. But I still feel him. In every decision. In every choice. In every moment where I have to decide who I want to be. I feel him when I give money to kids who need it. When I fund scholarships. When I provide opportunities for people who deserve them. I feel him when I show up. When I'm consistent. When I'm the kind of person who doesn't walk away when things get hard. I feel him when I look at my life. At Sarah. At our work. At the foundation. At everything we've built. Everything that started because he believed in me when my parents didn't. My parents and I have a relationship now. Small relationship. Distant relationship. We talk a few times a year. They send Christmas cards. I respond. Sometimes. That's it. That's all it is. All it might ever be. And that's okay. Because I don't need them anymore. Didn't need them at 13, even though I thought I did. Don't need them now. I'm 33. I'm married. I'm running a foundation that changes lives. I'm living a legacy that matters. I have James's money. But more importantly, I have his lessons. His values. His example. I have the knowledge that showing up matters. That consistency matters. That loving someone through their hardest moments matters more than being there for the easy ones. I have the proof that family isn't blood. It's choice. It's action. It's 15 years of someone choosing you every single day. And I have the responsibility to pass that forward. To be for others what James was for me. To show up. To stay. To love people even when it's hard. That's his legacy. Not the money. The example. The proof that one person can change everything. That one person showing up can save a life. Can build a future. Can create something that lasts long after they're gone. Uncle James saved me. Not by taking me in. But by loving me. By showing me I was worth loving. By proving that my parents' failure to see my worth wasn't a reflection of my value but of their capacity. He saved me. And now I get to save others. That's the inheritance that matters. That's what he really left me. Not $47 million. The knowledge that I'm worth showing up for. And the responsibility to show up for others. That's everything. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Before you go, I've left 2 more stories here on your screen. Both from men who discovered that family isn't always who you're born to. It's who stands by you when the truth comes out. Click on whichever one calls to you. And if you want to join our community of people who understand what it's like to be the outsider looking in, that notification bell is your invitation. Until tomorrow, remember, your story matters, even if they tried to erase it.